Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Stop. Who Does That? I'm Jenna.
And I'm Jackie.
We hope everyone is having a great week, easing into that holiday mode now that it's December. I know that I love the holidays and the music, the lights, all the Christmas things. I especially love shopping for Christmas presents. I will be honest with you, I don't like wrapping the presents. I pretty much hate wrapping, but I could shop all day. And I think this weekend I'm going to try to get a bunch of Christmas shopping done. How about you, Jackie? How's your week?
In my Amazon shopping. Shopping just isn't the same anymore now that you have kids and a busy life.
Mhm.
But, we got our tree up, which is a big deal.
That's always fun.
And I think we're working on getting some outdoor decorations. Eventually, I'll get around to it. But we are going to Savannah after the holidays for a nice, relaxing vacation in a warmer climate.
That sounds perfect and something to look forward to, especially here in the Northeast. It's been very cold. We just got our first snowstorm. We have snow on the ground. It's like in the 20s outside.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same as Anchorage, Alaska at this point.
God.
Yeah, we're looking forward to getting the holidays done and over with and have a nice vacation to close that out on that last week of December where no one's going to school or work.
Yeah, awesome.
So we're definitely going to make the most of that time together.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds awesome, Jackie. Well, before we get into this week's episode, we want to give a special thank you to some of our listeners. Thank you for your support, Carmelo Valente, Todd LaRose, and Allison Nowaki. Thank you, Carmelo, Todd, and Allison, for your continued support of the podcast. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate all of our listeners and subscribers. We hope that you really enjoy the episode that we have for you today.
Yes, and I just wanted to echo the same sentiments as well. We appreciate your support as we get going here. We're finding out that we have listeners as far as Australia
I
and
know.
the United Kingdom. So if you're
Yeah.
listening from those countries, thank you so much
Yeah.
for your support. We really appreciate you guys and the response that we're getting in just 2 weeks of starting this podcast. It's
Yes.
really starting to pick up. We're really happy with our progress, and we just only hope that it's just upward and onward from here.
Yeah.
To our listeners that we call out, we would like to send you one of our stickers, so we'll follow up with
Mhm.
you and get your address as well. That goes for any of our listeners. If you write in or give us some feedback or
Mhm.
give us some positive encouragement, we're going to send you some stickers.
Yeah, we
So
have a sticker bundle that we would love to send out to you guys. So, yep, just shoot us a DM or message us or email us at stopwhodoesthatpodcast@gmail.com, and we will certainly get one of those sticker bundles out to you.
all right. Now that we've got a little housekeeping out of the way, it is time to reveal who our deep dive is about this week.
Mhm.
Imagine a love triangle so toxic, so twisted, and so off the rails that it ends with a decapitation, a missing head, and a woman who went from adult film star to suspected mastermind of a deadly family betrayal. This is the story of Devin Michaels, who didn't just behead her ex-husband, she also married his son, her former stepson, while pretending he was the father of her daughters or her stepson's half siblings. If this sounds like the plot of a late night thriller, trust us, the real story is even worse.
Devin Michaels was born on April 28th, 1978, making her 47 years old today and 45 years old at the time of the murder, which was 2 years ago. This is a very recent case. She lived a turbulent life in Nevada, marked by unstable relationships, financial stress, and constant emotional chaos. Devin worked in the adult film industry under the stage name Nikki Fairchild. Beginning in the early 2000s, she performed for major companies like Hustler, Penthouse, Metro, Sin City, Reality Kings, Elegant Angel, and many more. At one point, she was even nominated for an AVN award for Best Tease Performance in 2004. In an additional revelation from court records, Michaels was once married to Robert Baker, the man convicted of killing Toronto hairstylist Fabio Sementelli in 2017. I think we all kind of remember that case because his name was Fabio. It's similar to the very famous model Fabio. So I do definitely remember that case, and I had absolutely no idea she was married to his killer.
I didn't
Eventually,
either.
yeah, I mean, that's just a connection, maybe possibly the first connection of twists and turns we're about to hear in this case.
Buckle up, you're in for a treat.
Yes, you are. So eventually, she retired from the industry, the adult film industry. And after that, she entered a very long and volatile relationship. Through that relationship, Devin was introduced to Jonathan James Willett, who became deeply entangled in her complicated personal life. The relationship between Devin, her boyfriend, and Jonathan Willett eventually turned into a volatile three-way emotional and sexual love triangle. As Jonathan grew closer to Devin's boyfriend, the dynamic shifted and the jealousy and resentment swirling in that house pushed all three of them towards disaster.
Okay, so Jenna, that's a lot to unpack here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's back up. It was 2012. Devin has this unnamed boyfriend who then introduces her to Jonathan.
Yeah, so this man she was dating was best friends actually with Jonathan Willett since high school. And that's how Devin wound up meeting Jonathan, was through her boyfriend at the time, who
Ah,
remains nameless, which I don't blame him. He probably wants
yeah.
absolutely nothing to do with being associated with this woman.
This whole thing. So they were in a bowl.
Yeah, they for a long time, they were in this threesome love triangle. They all were willing participants, and
Mhm.
for a time it was going well until it wasn't. And it began to take a downturn when her boyfriend started to pay more attention to Jonathan than her. This
Mm.
enraged her and made her extremely jealous. Then she kind of went after Jonathan.
So she
Was
was like, fine, you want him so
Yeah,
bad, I'm going to steal him from you.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
then they eventually got married, had these kids,
Yeah,
kind
so
of thing.
they
Okay.
eventually got married, Devin and Jonathan, then they had two daughters together. In my personal opinion, I believe she had the kids with him on purpose to keep him connected to her
Right.
and to keep this separation between that other man and Jonathan, because now she had kids with Jonathan.
Mhm.
So now she's kind of, has this connection to him more so than
And other people,
her
or
other
even,
boyfriend.
or
Hmm.
the baker guy that
Yep.
turned into a
Yeah.
murderer eventually.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's learn a little bit more about Jonathan, who
Hmm.
is the victim here.
Hmm.
So, before he became a victim in this tragic situation, Jonathan Willett had a life rich with family, hard work, and community. He grew up traveling around the world because his father served in the Air Force, Tokyo, Montana, California, and eventually settled in Henderson, Nevada. Jonathan worked more than 20 years selling timeshares on the Las Vegas Strip, then launched his own business, JW Marketing, and later the Vegas Moving Guide. Anyone in Vegas will tell you Jonathan loved helping people move and haul things. He drove around proudly with two American flags on his truck. His obituary described him as a hard worker with sharp intelligence and a huge heart. He was a son, a brother, a former husband, and the father of two sons from a previous relationship. In 2012, amid this complicated triangle, Devin and Jonathan actually got married and had two daughters together, but they eventually divorced in 2018. And even after that, they continued to see each other. At some point in the early 2020, Devin lost custody of their two daughters and they lived full time with their father and his mother, Yoko. Devin was only allowed visits supervised by Jonathan at the grandmother's home. It is unclear as to the reasons she lost custody, as most family courts are sealed.
So, as you can imagine, Jackie, this just is pushing Devin even more into a rage because now she had her daughters taken away.
Right.
As a
I have
mother,
to imagine that's very frustrating
yeah, that's a
for
very
any mother.
low point as a mother to have your own children taken away from you. It takes a lot
It
to take
does.
the children away from the mother. She was definitely involved in And some bad things, as we learned from her past. She had a chaotic and toxic and turbulent life. So I can only imagine. I think it was best that they did place the children with Jonathan. He was stable, he lived with his mother, and he could provide for them, and he loved them. And he already had 2 kids from a previous marriage, so he was a good dad.
As we're soon going to get into, we'll learn a little bit more about his son from a previous marriage
Mhm.
and how that plays a part in all of this.
Yeah, so basically, Devin was dating the boyfriend, then she was dating Jonathan, married Jonathan, got divorced. Things are going very badly for Devin at this point in time. As all this is going on, she shockingly began dating Jonathan's son around 2020, 29-year-old Deveray Willett. This is Jonathan's son, who, when Jonathan was married to Devin, Vier was her stepson. So essentially, she's dating her stepson at this point
Correct.
in time. On the stand, Ray stated that they started an intimate relationship when he was just 19 years old. He says he couldn't remember exactly who made the first move here or even when they started discussing getting married, but
He
he
did.
acknowledged that Devin was, in and out of the hospital for unknown medical reasons, and the girls would be left largely unattended to at times. And he thought that it would be best if they were to get married so Devin could have health insurance and somebody to depend on to watch the girls every time she was being hospitalized. No one's really admitting who made the first move on who and who really pushed for the marriage, but in fact, they did get married. Devin created this fantasy that Deveray was the girl's father and not Jonathan. She thought they were one big happy family now. During his testimony on the stand, Deveray even said, "I was trying to fill shoes I had no business trying to fill." Deveray described his relationship with his father as generally positive, saying their only real conflicts came from working together. When prosecutors asked whether he would consider his father, quote, hot-headed and stubborn, he agreed enthusiastically. He was then asked how his father reacted to the marriage to Devin. Deveray said their only communication was a brief text exchange. Jonathan told him something along the lines of, quote, "I don't know what you're trying to do, but it's not right." Deveray replied, "You're only hearing half the story, and not all of it is true." After that text message, the two never spoke again, the father and son. I don't know what you think about that, Jackie, but I mean, like, over a
What is
10.
there not to believe there, sir? Marriage is a legal document. Clearly, it's true. You married his ex-wife.
That's a very, I mean, that's that's like a 2-sentence argument and then never speak again. I mean, they weren't really going into much detail there. "I don't know what you're trying to do. You don't know, it's not true." And then they just never talk again. I
And this
mean,
is Devier on the stand. This is where this testimony came from, was when he was on the stand during the trial. Devier is kind of a man of a few words, and
mhm,
we'll get into that. But this is his recounting of
yes.
that interaction
Yeah.
that his dad said was, "I don't know what you're trying to do."
Yeah,
So,
and, Jonathan, he could have lost his shit. He could have
right.
flew off the handle. That's a very calm
Mhm.
response, I personally think, to this entire weird situation. Jonathan seemed pretty emotionless and level-headed. I don't know, he didn't seem very animated or pissed off, really.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe he was "Take her, she's fucking crazy." I mean, I don't know.
Right.
As far as motivations for violence, according to John Giordani, Evan wanted to replace Jonathan completely after realizing that he and the girls were moving back into her home and didn't want Devier to have to move out. She didn't want to lose Devier. She also claimed, after the fact, after the murder and everything, that Jonathan abused her and he showered in front of their daughter. But there was zero evidence and no prior police reports, no corroborating witnesses that either of these things ever happened, which we do hear this after the fact in many cases. They claim abuse. It's actually, to me, offensive to women who are actually getting abused that you're going to claim that this man abused you and did inappropriate things in front of your daughter. He's dead. Like
He
he
can't
can't
even defend himself.
defend himself. Now you're trashing his name. We see this all the time. They're going to
Mhm,
trash the name of the victim. Jonathan's the victim. Now, not
mhm.
only did you kill him, you are tarnishing his name. I just, I never like that when people do that.
Well, and especially once we get into the moments leading up to the actual murder, you're going to realize this man was completely defenseless and didn't
Hmm.
see it coming. So
Yeah.
you got a lot of nerve to say that. It's not like she did this in the heat of the moment and he was in the middle of screaming at her or something like that. But
Yeah.
we'll get to that shortly.
Right. So Devin's new husband and Jonathan's son, Deveray, testified at the trial, and his story was full of contradictions. Deveray said he started his relationship with Devin at 19, while his father was still intimate with her. This would mean their sexual relationship began as far back as 2015.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was just doing the math from listening to the testimony. So he's 29 now.
Mhm.
It's 2025. So that puts it as far back as 2015.
Mhm.
And on the stand, they did ask him to clarify, so were you being intimate with her while your father was intimate with her? And he did say yes.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
this was being kept from Jonathan for a very long time. And I got the gist that he didn't know about it until they actually married.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deveray also said he could not remember the date he married Devin on the stand, despite telling the grand jury earlier the date. He told the grand jury the date, but on the stand, he said, I
I
don't
don't
remember.
remember.
I mean, how do you not remember your wedding day? I don't care if you even got married at the courthouse. Like, no man is gonna forget that, and their wife sure as hell is gonna make sure they remember it. So I'm sure over the years, Devin brought it up. Where'd you get
When I
my
was watching, I'm like, if I were Devin right now, I'd be pissed that he doesn't remember their wedding
Yeah.
day.
I mean, forgetting is one thing, but forgetting on the actual witness stand, that's real bad.
I gotta tell you, Jenna, watching him was kind of painful, to be quite
Yeah.
honest. It was very painful to watch Devier on the stand. He just didn't seem like he knew a lot, or couldn't remember, and then would get caught in a lie. And he wouldn't, you know what? I give him credit though. He wouldn't try to backtrack. He just owned it. Like, yeah, I guess I did lie. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, he didn't try to fight it. He
No.
claimed on the stand they married for healthcare reasons, but during cross-examination, he said that was a lie. That wasn't true.
Oh yeah. Yeah, everything that the prosecution asked him was one thing, and then when the defense came up and they rebutted what he said, he'd fold. And I'm like, "You just proved to everyone you were just lying like not even a minute ago."
And these are not complicated questions. These are questions that anyone should be able to answer. Honestly, they are not very complicated.
Speaking of which, they asked him if he would characterize his relationship with his father as tumultuous, and he goes, "I'm sorry, I don't know what that word means."
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, okay,
yeah.
Devier. Well, let's see what else you have to say. He told detectives that he and Devin never shared a room and never were intimate. But on the stand, he admitted that's a lie. We all know that's a lie. Like, let's be real.
So his excuse for this, when we say detectives, we mean back when the murder occurred in August 2023. He was initially questioned by detectives about this whole relationship. And he claims that when he found out his father was murdered, he went on a bender and was drinking nonstop. So whatever he told the detectives, that was the alcohol talking.
Of
So,
course it was.
yeah.
Right. He also told the grand jury he slept through the night of August 6th, but later testified he woke up when Devin got into bed around 2 a.m. And that was the night of the murder, August 6th.
Correct. And this comes into play because later Yoko, the grandmother, will testify that around 3 a.m. she's hearing dogs barking, which would suggest that somebody else is still in the house. So to later testify that you heard her get back into bed at 2 a.m., that would put her back at your house at 2 a.m., which isn't,
It's not
li-
possible.
yeah.
So he told detectives that he did know Jonathan was planning to move in to their home and that he was going to be moving out. So again, it's this or that. He's just contradicting all of his prior statements.
Devier is a mess, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, Debbie. So then when left alone in the interrogation room, he said out loud to himself, quote, "This is going to be a fucking Netflix series." So clearly he had plenty to hide. I mean, like you said, Jackie, what did you say about that statement off the
Oh,
record?
the only true thing he ever said was, "This is gonna be a fucking Netflix series."
That was the only truthful thing that he said during this whole time.
And
And you know,
level-headed and clear thing that he said, is that this is gonna be a fucking Netflix series, which he wasn't wrong. He
he's
wasn't
not wrong,
wrong.
and, like, this is a new case, like, relatively new, it happened in 2023, so there hasn't been too much coverage on it, but, I mean, mark our words, this is definitely going to be covered in the years going forward. This is just a wild case. So, basically, all of this aligns with the prosecution's theory, which was Jonathan was getting ready to move back into the home. That meant Devier would have to move out, with Jonathan planning to bring the girls with him back to the home that he used to share with Devin. Devin feared losing the children all over again. So to her, this was the moment everything she'd built with Devier was about to fall apart. Devin panicked, and her carefully constructed fantasy life was collapsing all around her. She became desperate to stop this from happening.
Right, it's like a bait and switch. She
Mhm.
wanted to let Jonathan and the girls come back. Devier knew he'd have to move out because he and his dad were not speaking at this time, so the obvious thing would be he needs to leave. But she can't let Devier go.
No, she didn't need to do that at all.
And I was saying to Jenna offline, he reminds me of Forrest Gump and Jenny, right? Like I don't think Devier was inconsistent on the stand on purpose. I
No,
just
no.
don't think there's a lot of substance there to Devier. He seems like a very sweet guy. He seemed like a very hard worker. He went to work every day. He took care of the girls. The night before the murder happened, Devin and his father were back and forth between his grandmother's house and their house, moving things back and forth. And he's making sure that the girls are getting ready for bed. He's getting them in their pajamas. He's making them dinner. So he seems like a stand-up guy from that standpoint. And I think he was someone that Devin could rely on, but there wasn't much substance to him.
Yeah.
It at times was even hard to listen to him on the stand. He mumbles a lot. They had to ask him several times to move the mic closer and to speak louder and clearly. I know the prosecutor asked him a few times, "Are you embarrassed to be talking about this?" And obviously he's got a lot of shame, I think, but I didn't think he was lying to be deceitful. It
I
was more
don't
he just
either.
couldn't keep track of
And
what was
I
being
think
said.
that Devin was an extremely manipulative woman, and I
Oh,
think
enjoyed
she
it.
preyed on Devier, and I think she groomed him from a young age since he was young and was her stepson. And I think she groomed him, she preyed on him, and she
Mhm.
manipulated him to be the father, to get married to her so she could have health insurance.
Yep.
He was a sweet soul and a kind person, and,
Yeah.
I think she totally took
He
advantage
was a
of that.
pawn. He was a pawn to her.
Yep.
He was built-in daycare, he was
Mhm.
healthcare health insurance coverage. It worked. He seemed pretty consistent with his work. We know Jonathan had those businesses. I don't know if maybe Devier was a little more consistent with income than Jonathan was, but
Mhm.
whatever it was, it didn't seem like things were as volatile with her and Devier as they were with Jonathan. And I think that gave her a sense of security that she just never had.
Mhm. I agree.
So we're going to deep dive into the evening of the murder and
Mhm.
what led up to this.
Mhm.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Devin and Jonathan were back and forth between Yoko's house. So Yoko is Jonathan's mother. They were between that house and Devon's house, moving things back and forth for the girls. She was spending time at Yoko's house the evening before the murders, August 6th, 2023. The intent was the next morning that they were going to register the girls in a new school district as they were moving to her house. She apparently offered to give him a massage while they were hanging out in his bedroom at Yoko's house. While he was laying face down, relaxed and unaware, she struck him from behind with a heavy object that she described as a candlestick item. His arms went limp, and he never saw it coming. And then she proceeded to decapitate. To decapitate someone takes so much mental and physical effort
Hmm.
that it's especially heinous.
And
Am I right, Jenna? I mean, it's
yeah, we don't see this often, beheading. And Devin was a small woman. She was about 5'6", 5'7". She was very fit, very skinny, and I just don't know how she had the brute strength to cut his head off. But in fact, that's what she did. On the morning of August 7th, around 9 a.m., Jonathan's mother, Yoko, discovered his headless, wrapped body surrounded by toxic fumes from bleach and cleaning chemicals. Police arrived, and Yoko told them Devin had been at the home the night before. So immediately the police went to Devin's place. When officers arrived, Devin, essentially confessed. She claimed she didn't mean to kill Jonathan, just to hurt him enough to send him to the hospital so she could figure out what to do about her daughters and her marriage to Devere. So
you killed him to buy time.
she killed him to buy time. She decapitated a defenseless man, disposed of the head. The head, I want to mention, Jackie, was never found. And all of this just to figure out what to do with your daughters and life, and it just makes no sense.
So let's back up. Let's assume she's meaning what she's saying when she says, "I just wanted to hurt him to send him to the hospital." Okay. You offer to give him a massage. Let's just paint the picture here. You're at his house. You just got done eating some food. According to Yoko, they were making food and back and forth between Jonathan's room. You're like, "Hey, babe, why don't you lay down and
Mhm.
I'll, give you a nice back rub. You seem a
Mhm.
little stressed lately." And he's like, "Oh boy, we're going to start this up again."
Yeah.
Sure. He's laying down, completely unsuspecting of this. He thinks she's going to give him a nice little back rub. And then she grabs a candlestick-like object and bonks him over the head,
Horrible.
thinking this is just going to be enough to get him in the hospital, right? Okay. So, what did you think was going to happen when he got to the hospital? Assuming this played out the way you wanted it to. You don't think he's going to tell people, "Oh, she hit me over the head. I thought I was getting a massage, and the next thing I know, I'm here in the hospital."
Yeah, I thought I was just getting a massage. How did I get to the hospital?
You're going to get slapped with assault charges, assuming he lived, and then you're really not going to have your girls. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't make it make sense here, right? But no, you hit him hard enough that you killed him, and then you were like, I need to cut his head off. How do
Said
we make
that.
that leap here? I'm looking for the reason, Jenna. Looking, can't find it.
Yeah, and Devin, you're never going to get your daughters back now. This was the wrong. If there was a wrong way to do things, it was this way. Like, she picked the absolute most wrong way to go about getting her girls back. I mean,
Again, just pretending that her plan worked. It's just like there's no right way out of this, honey. Like
no.
now you're going to go to jail. You're never gonna have Devier. You're never gonna have your girls again. Like what? The only thing I could think, Jenna, is like the years of drug. Assuming she did drugs,
Mhm.
I'm willing to bet she probably has. Maybe it changes her brain. I'm not
I
understanding.
definitely think she was on substances to be thinking this way and to have the strength to behead someone. You have to be on something. You just don't go about your normal days
I And
chop
do it all in a night's work, and then you're home the next morning pretending like you don't know what just happened.
to your own children's father.
Right. Your husband's father as well.
Mm-hmm.
You seem to like what he produces, but not him. I don't get it. Now, Jenna, going back to what you were saying about Devon's frame and how she wasn't a large woman, it'd make you wonder how did she have the physical ability to even decapitate this man? During the trial, they had forensic anthropologist Dr. Jennifer Burns testify. And she found that there were two separate implements used. There was a handheld knife that was used to make the initial cuts. And Yoko the mother of Jonathan,
Mm-hmm.
she did testify that she noticed later that morning that there was a large knife of hers missing. So we're assuming that she got a knife from Yoko's kitchen and tried to hack away at his neck, realized this is more difficult than I anticipated. Actually used a mechanically powered saw to complete this decapitation.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that prosecution was again referring to her size and saying, well, how could she physically do this? And the anthropologist said, well, when you use a powered saw, it does a lot of the work for you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's perfectly reasonable that she took that mechanically powered saw and just
And
completed it.
do you think that's why there was not much blood because this decapitation was performed after death?
Yeah, for
Because
sure. There's
there
no your heart's not pumping blood anymore.
yeah,
So
that's what I was thinking because there was no like Yoko never said it was a bloody crime scene or there was blood everywhere. So
no.
yeah, so it must have been because he was already deceased when she cut his head off.
And Yoko did testify that in the middle of the night she ran into Devin in the kitchen at 1
Mhm.
a.m.,
Mhm.
which Devin acted very shocked to see Yoko in her own kitchen, which is neither here nor there. But they did ask Yoko, did you see any blood on her at this time? And she said,
Mhm.
so we're unsure if this is after she may have hit him over the head, but before she cut his head off. And then, I'm sure our listeners are probably wondering, did Yoko hear anything in the middle of the night? The only thing Yoko noticed was around 3 a.m. she awoke to hearing the dogs barking out
Mhm.
back. So, for a little background, Jonathan had 4 dogs, 2 puppies, and 2 adult dogs, and they always slept with him. So for her to hear the dogs out back in the middle of the night, that was a bit concerning to her, but nothing that would have made her get out of bed and go check and see what's going on. So I would imagine, Jenna, I think that meant for me that Devon's downstairs somewhere. They did talk about the garage door, like the dogs having to go through a garage door. So I'd imagine she's out in the garage at that point
Yeah.
using the saw.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened if Yoko went out to the garage at the time she
Gosh.
was using the saw. I mean, that could have gone bad.
Shoko did say when she woke at 8:30 that morning on August 7th, she noticed that Jonathan's car was out front still. Evan's car was no longer there. She called for Jonathan a few times. He didn't answer. She opened the bedroom door, noticed that the computer chair was turned over, and then looked over at the bed. And that's when she saw him kind of like wrapped up in the blankets, and then went over and all she saw was the foot, I believe, and then that's when she called 911. She did mention seeing some blood, but it didn't sound like there was blood all over the floor or anything. It was more in the blankets.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to further explore the state of his body at this point, the medical examiner did testify on the stand, Dr. Stephanie Yagi. She testified that she could not determine the cause of death because his head was missing. She did determine that the decapitation was performed after death, which is why, Jenna, we were saying there wasn't a whole lot of blood. She classified the cause of death, as homicidal violence. This is used when the body shows no anatomical cause of death, but the circumstances are clearly suspicious and violent. So her reasoning for this is because without the head, we don't know if he was suffocated.
Hmm.
We don't know if maybe he was choking on something that they were
Hmm.
eating that night,
Hmm.
which again, I don't know why that would lead you to decapitate someone, but hey, I think she's just covering all her bases.
What do you think, Jackie, was the cause of death? Do you think it was the blow to the back of the head, or do you think it was the stabbing with the sharp knife?
That's a great question.
I thought about it myself,
For her to cut his head off, what is she hiding? Was she trying to hide the cause of death?
I think
What was the
I
point of that?
I don't think one blow to the back of the head from a tiny woman would have killed him. I think
I
it
don't either.
knocked him out, and then he was unconscious while she was stabbing his throat, I think.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what was she trying to hide by cutting that head off? I
Because
don't.
is cause for the being wrapped in blankets. She could have
Yeah,
stabbed his neck a few times, then he died. Then she cut the head off to try to hide the stabbing and wrapped the headless
yeah.
body in blankets.
But she's forgetting the fact that she's the last person that was with him the night before and the most likely suspect.
And literally the closest person in his life.
With motive. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get it, Devin. I don't get it. Why did you cut his head off? That part made no sense.
I'm guessing she dumped it in some type of trash receptacle or dumpster, and it just happened to be trash day because the police were so quick to come to her house that I feel like they would have definitely searched the dumpsters around the surrounding area.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking coincidentally for her, it just happened to be trash pickup day, and that's why the head was never found.
She
That's
lucked out there.
my
At least she
opinion.
did one thing right.
She
She disposed of the head correctly, at least.
I mean,
But
and that unfortunately, that that is the most important part that we need to determine his cause of death.
we're not so dumb to know that his head doesn't get cut off unless somebody cut it off. So
Mhm.
clearly that's a homicide.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great call by
Mhm.
the medical
Yeah.
examiner.
Agree.
Um, Yeah, I have no word. Well, we know from the court proceedings that she was trying to pass the blame onto Devier. She was trying to say that Devier killed his dad, but there was proof that Devier never left the home that evening. So he was home with the girls, like he said he was in his testimony. Really, it sounded like to me he didn't care if he had to leave or not. Not. He was probably like, if I gotta move out, this will be great. I mean, really, he just was like, he didn't seem to care.
No. He wasn't bothered nearly as much as Devin was.
Right. Right. What's interesting here is Devin pled guilty to second-degree murder in 2024.
Mm.
She folded under pressure. She admitted what she did, pled guilty. Good thing, trying to save taxpayers' money. By pleading guilty to second-degree murder, she was getting a possible sentence of 15 years with a chance for parole. However, during sentencing in July 2025, so this past summer, she suddenly says, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. The cops, they lied to me. They showed me all this stuff and I just believed it. Suddenly we have to go to trial. Jenna, would you like to see how dramatic she was during this hearing?
Absolutely.
Let's roll the tape. Let's roll the tape. So then you want to plead not guilty.
I don't know what to do anymore.
Judge, I'm not comfortable with this record. I'm willing to let her out of the plea before it's gone.
I don't know how to fix this.
All right. It's just, this wouldn't be appropriate.
I completely understand.
Let's go to trial.
All right. Ms. Michael, Judge Mr. Giordano says that he's willing to let you out of your plea and he's willing to try this
Wow,
case.
that's nice of him.
And you understand that he's willing to try this case on an open murder. So a jury can convict you of a first-degree murder. You understand that? Or do you want to talk to Mr. Patrick about it? Well, I don't want to talk to Mr. Patrick. He didn't listen to anything I said. Miss Michaels, I need you to understand.
She doesn't want to talk to her attorney. That was dramatic.
Yeah, no, girl, just no. Just no, you should not have done that. That was dumb.
Well,
Now,
I think the prosecution was like, fine. You want out of this? You want to act like we just coerced you into giving a confession? Let's go to trial. Let's call your bluff, honey, because I think they were so confident in the evidence they had.
they
Good.
definitely were like, fine then. That's
Right.
what you want. Then that's what you're gonna get. Now you're in jail for the rest of your life. She shouldn't have done that. But
She shouldn't have done it because
She
guess
shouldn't have.
what? She went to trial this past month and she was found guilty of first-degree murder on November 14th, 2020. She is currently awaiting sentencing sentencing at the time of this podcast.
Uh-huh.
Now, can we talk about what she gave up and then what she got? Because initially she pled guilty to second-degree murder, which then was convicted of first-degree murder. And the difference is first-degree murder is what? Premeditated. Yeah. Second-degree murder lacks the premeditation, but it involves malice aforethought with a conscious disregard for human life. So probably the part where she mutilated his body. But usually second degree is like in the heat of a moment, like passionate.
Yes.
And she had a chance of getting out in 15 years, a
Yeah.
chance at parole. And here she is probably going to get life. I don't know, but that's what she's looking at.
Yeah. And that just was, I think she just kind of went against her legal team there, but she shouldn't have done that, and she shouldn't have murdered Jonathan in the first place, and then she never would have been in this position, but that's what she got herself into, so.
I had to laugh when she was like, I'm just waiting for you guys to do the right thing. Well, honey, maybe you shouldn't have killed him. We wouldn't be here right now, would we?
Yeah. That was painful.
That was really, and I kind of felt like she might have been on something. Didn't she seem a little tweaky?
Yes, I
Yeah.
thought the same thing. And she was talking in circles, and she wasn't making sense. That was a disaster, but this entire case has been, a dumpster fire and chaotic, tumultuous type of case. Our final thoughts here about the murder of Jonathan Willett. It honestly was very brutal and unnecessary to murder this man, a loving father, devoted worker, a helpful community figure, and somebody that was deeply loved by his family. And we want to say that Jonathan Willett did nothing wrong here. He was a
Not that we know of.
Yeah, not that was ever reported ever by anyone. Right. He was simply trying to be a good dad, a good son, and to rebuild his life.
I mean, clearly he must have done a good job in that he had a son, Devyn, that she fell in love with and was the father of her children. I mean, she's surrounded by humans he created. And they should be the most important people in her life, and we're the most important people in her life. Why in a million years would you think to take out the common thread with your own family? And that was Jonathan. If it wasn't for Jonathan, your daughters wouldn't be here. Devyn wouldn't be here. You don't think that he meant something to them? That's what I can't.
It was just completely senseless and totally unnecessary. The man. It was
a spur of the moment plan. It seemed like it wasn't even well executed, well thought through. It was. Yeah, I don't have words. I don't think we're ever going to understand Jenna because our brains don't function the way hers does, clearly.
No.
And you can tell from that clip, she's not taking accountability for this.
She's been this way her whole life. And when you're like that, eventually it catches up to you. Yeah. And that's what I want to say. You just, it will catch up to you at some point. And she's got away with acting like this, manipulating people, and doing whatever she damn well pleased her whole life. And now it's not going to happen to anyone else. And thank God she should be in jail for the rest of her life because we don't want her to ever do this to anybody else. And our thoughts and prayers go out to Jonathan's family,
the
all
daughters,
of his kids. Yeah. And
Devyn even. I mean, he's a pawn and a victim of all this.
Devyn can rebuild his life, and also Yoko as well. She seemed like a devoted and loving mother, and to find your own son like that, I mean, our thoughts and prayers go to her as well. So, this was
heck of a ride. Yes. Well, as always, we appreciate you listening today. Yep. If you have any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, case suggestions, email us at stopwhodoesthatpodcast@gmail.com. If you send in a suggestion, a comment, a question, we send you a sticker. Wow. So I would love to see a sticker across the pond in the UK or in Australia. I don't know about you, Jenna.
That we love our listeners across the pond and Australia. We appreciate you, and we would love your continued support, and we can't wait to bring you more cases. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Stop Who Does That.
Thanks, guys. Have a great holiday season.